Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Target of the Week discussion today, brought to you by Aesthetic Impact. I'm sorry we had so many good sessions come in that I totally did not take the time to make my usual face page that says that this is the Target and that Lynn's our panelist. And we will be reviewing Target 08-1119 today. It is a visit to Ross Castle, Killarney, Ireland, and we are lucky that one of our viewers actually lives in Killarney, Ireland, Ray McClure, who visited the castle with his family and was generous enough to donate. We don't have all the images. That's a first. Was generous enough to visit this as an outbounder and take photos and share them with us. And I have more Target images that I can bring up to share. And let's see here. I roamed around just because when you're a basic practicing student, teaching your subconscious about, oh, for heaven's sake, I wonder if we have so much stuff loaded in. I've never timed out a WebEx like how much it can hold, but I think I might have maxed out its memory because it's not pulling up full documents as far as feedback. That's the first time ever. Let me see what else I can do here. Since we're test driving this, I might as well just finish it up. Well, at least this gives us some history. Ross Castle was the site of some huge battles and is quite legendary, and it is now a tourist attraction. And from the amount of viewers that I've seen, I started making comments on sessions, and there's a huge amount of you getting stuff like catapults and roller coasters and stuff. So I was going to take a moment and Google whether or not we could see the interior of this anywhere to see if there is something that resembles anything that looks like a catapult, and I did not get time to do that. And I just pulled up some stuff that did show that it's a tourist attraction, if anybody gets that. So maybe once we get some of the sessions offloaded, or maybe I need to make a couple of sessions go away. Hang on, Debbie's not going to be here. Let me move her session out of the way. Maybe that might help. And these folks aren't here yet. We have some new folks. All right, let's go ahead and we'll work on the feedback photos here shortly, and I don't know why it's not loading them up, but I can share my desktop here in a moment and we can go through them. But let's see, Deborah has to go to class and we'll go through her session first. Where are you, Miss Deborah? There you go. Your mic is unmuted. And I'm just going down through this. You know what? Let me see. All right, I can advance this way. But it doesn't let me scroll very long. We have to show WebEx does a good job here for Saturday. All right, so here's Deborah's first page with her admin section, which is very important I want to touch on this just for those of you who are rather new. She has declared her name, the date, the time, where she is, because where you view may become important someday. You may learn that you do your best viewing at your desk, your kitchen table, something like that. Previews of coming attractions, that's an early Stray Cat or AOL that you may have some idea of what's going to be at the site. She then declares the things that might distract her during her session and comes down and sets those aside. Otherwise, there's a little bit of your conscious mind that's on alert that wants to be paying attention for these things that it needs to watch for. So if you set them aside during your session, it frees up your conscious mind to let your subconscious mind report. And Deborah is an extremely gifted viewer. Look at this ideogram. She has a huge compound ideogram and has divided it into 7. A compound ideogram is one line with several gestalts. And she has taken her coordinates. Normally, Lynn teaches you take your site coordinates, and your second line is your viewer number and your session number that you have done today, like how many sessions. If it was your first session today, it would be 011. So Deborah has, we won't dwell here, but I do need to explain for anybody who's listening. Deborah has felt along her ideogram and made dividing lines when it felt different to her. Then she has come over and addressed each section in the IAB sequence in A1, and then she's described it and then described the feel of that ideogram and then declared it as her ideogram for man-made or made emotion. And she's done that throughout that whole huge ideogram. And there are some trainers who will teach you that you get one ideogram and that will contain everything you need to know about the site. And quite frankly, that one may be it. She's continuing her explanation and for whatever reason gets another one. Now, I haven't kept track of the amount of gestalts as we've gone down through there, but she's already had an AI. It's a very interesting target. It feels vast. Covers a large area, and AOL snow-capped mountains. And moved into P2. She had an AI, but not the AI that she described her emotional response to the target. And let's see, how many pages do we have to review here? 22. So I'm going to try. It's not that I don't want to dwell. Please, Deborah, jump in any time because you know how this goes. We're already on page 4. If you want to tell us about your session, any good points, bad points, questions?
Okay, yeah, I would just say I had an extremely strong emotional reaction, and so I think it's interesting you said that this was kind of like an outbounder experience for the person who provided this target. I mean, I was feeling it as my own, but I felt like this was home, and I missed it, and I had a longing for the place, and it was really intense, but you know, it didn't really disturb me, but I was like, wow, this was stronger than I've just about ever had an AI before. But I kept with my P2 phase because I didn't feel yet that I was still really, you know, getting anything other than the emotion. The emotion.
I was trying to. It's a little difficult to scroll with this thing. Looking for your actual AI. Have you had it yet? I know you had an emotional response, but have you had the AI? Because I just saw, I like that go live. Not sure if you heard it. I'm not sure where you're going with that, but I saw a sketch. You've moved into P3. I didn't see like an actual, it's in front of me, you know, makes me cry or anything like that. But that's all right. You're obviously there. An odd-looking horse. Battle gear. Son of a gun. Now, I don't mean to race through this, but please, if you see perceptions or things that you want to tell us about, please jump in.
Well, I would just say I got a lot of movement with this target, and I don't know if I'm sometimes like mistaking certain architectural designs for movement. I'm not really sure, but because I don't see a lot of movement in the picture.
No, there are people in the picture, and I will show a better bunch of feedback. We'll switch to my desktop. I'm afraid you'll probably be gone, but anyone who wants to, if you can queue up on your system Lynn's site, go to www.crviewer.com, and on the right-hand side is Target of the Week, and look for target. I can hear typing. Look for target 081119, which is 08 is 2008, November 19th. So you can be queuing that up, and you can be looking at that since we can't flip back and forth. But or just Google, if you want to, on your systems, Ross Castle, Killarney, Ireland, and you could be looking at the images there. TripAdvisor had a whole bunch of little thumbnail pictures. Okay, let's see. Here's an AI: spiritual, moving, sadness, longing for home, crying. You know, boy, this is really. Do you think, you know, and we need Lynn here, doggone it, but I've never yet seen anyone get sucked in. Now, you're still recording, so you're obviously moved by this, but I don't think you're sucked in because you are sketching and you're writing like crazy here. Boy, look at this. Hopefully you're all on page 8 with me. Look at this battle wall here with the sketch. I call it a battle wall. I'm not sure, that's probably not correct. But, all right, and a move command, good.
And you know what, I felt like when I was done with the session, I saw this little sketch, and I knew that I should have explored it more. I think if I had explored it more, I would have got a lot more about the target.
Oh, well, I mean, you've got 22 pages here, and unless you start building, this is kind of funny, building a castle. You know, I wondered if that really could sort of mess up your session. That'd be a good one to ask Lynn. You probably dance all around that. This object moves downward, hitting again against something else. Mechanical. Say, if anybody can Google anything, try keying in Ross Castle, and there's more than one, so you have to be careful that it's Killarney, and see if catapult or anything like that turns up, if anybody has time. We used to do this in the olden days when we got together on Wednesday nights. We'd all be sitting there on our laptop Googling stuff. Okay. It's a lot of water stuff. You know, an aqueduct. There is a lake there, and a moat, and a stream. I'm sorry about my stuffy nose, and I'm right here on camera, on the webcam. Everybody's getting, it's high up, elevated. Somebody got it 3 stories high. Ooh, only special people are up here. Wonder what that was. Now, somebody else got earthquake. Or was that you earlier that I just read that? That's interesting. These people speak a foreign language on the signage out front, it actually had, I don't know if I should say it's Celtic, but it was written in English and another language. I saw that. Nice photo there. Huh.
I have no idea what that was. I just saw this image of a giant clown face. I was out of structure here by now. I had to do some of my viewing from the car, and then I really got out of structure. But
what? Hang on. Why do you think you're out of structure?
Well, I just I guess I wasn't considering structure anymore. I was just, I was just viewing.
Yeah, understood. Just scrolling down through your perceptions here. I'm not reading. Obviously, I'm not loud for everyone. Okay, your interim summary on page 14. In interim summaries, why do you choose to do that? Not everybody does. Why do you find it to be helpful or useful?
It's just where I start to feel like I have a whole buildup of descriptors, and it just makes me feel better to just get them down.
Uh-huh. They're a good way to summarize and get some good site contact, too. Hi, Lynn.
I finally made it on.
Well, I'm so glad you did.
The email that you sent with the password and everything wouldn't let me on.
It's a conspiracy.
I know.
Everybody but you.
Yep.
If you had a paranoid bone, this would bring it out, wouldn't it?
Boy, it would. I tell you, this WebEx seems to hate me for some reason.
Yeah, but there's so many other programs that love you. I suppose we'll spare, just this one thing.
Sorry to be late.
That's okay. I explained that you have life, and I didn't get my fancy little hi, how are you talking about. And I don't know if I've maxed out WebEx or did a lousy job. My feedback photo won't pull up. So I've got people on their own systems keying in the feedback so they can look at it if they like. Deborah has a huge session here, and I think I'm going to have to cough. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. She feels as though this target, she's had the most emotional response with this target that she's maybe ever had. And would you like to go over that again, Deborah, while we keep looking through your session? Lynn might be able to help you with that.
Sure. I just had this, I found myself suddenly crying, and it wasn't really sadness. It was like I felt like I was longing for a place that I called home, that a piece of me missed. And I couldn't tell if it was, me, or if it was like someone at the target having those sensations. And it really wasn't a problem. I found it interesting, that I was just having such a reaction. It was very spontaneous.
I think she also has the biggest compound ideogram I've ever seen. Well, I've seen one or two other people that'll take up a whole page with an ideogram, but this was a whopper. And as we go through these, I was explaining that there are several viewers who are getting catapult-like stuff. And at first I thought maybe they were slipping in time to a more exciting part. But now here, men doing various activities catapulting themselves. So there's a lot of viewers getting those perceptions. And so I don't know if there's something that happens on the interior or if they have festivals from time to time. I can't say. But, maybe they all found a more exciting place and time to view. I'm not sure. And I told Deborah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be racing through this, but I'm just trying to scroll through here for the recording just so that other people who might be watching later on would have the full advantage of seeing. And Deborah thinks she sort of fell out of structure and just started viewing at some point, too. So here's this big introductory ideogram. There we go. And Deborah, is there anything in particular you want me to try and find in the session so you can ask Lynn?
No, I think I'm just still confused as to like when to move into like the next phase between like P2 and P3 or P4, or like do I keep like doing all the P2s for my, do I do all the P2s for each ideogram, or can I just work with one ideogram and go through the stages? I forgot, I had this question last time, but I forgot what you said.
Okay, the trigger that tells you to go from phase 1 to phase 2 is 1, when you want to, 2, when the ideogram starts repeating, or 3, when you start getting more advanced material. The time to go from stage 2 into stage 3 is when you have the AI. And if you try to go before that, you're not really going to have success. And after you have the AI, if you want to stay in phase 2, you can, just to pick up more information. But really, when you have that AI, that's when you suddenly realize, well, you put yourself at the site. You suddenly realize this thing is in front of me, or it's above me, or beside me, or over to my right, or something. And all of a sudden, you are spatially relating to the site. When that happens, you declare the AI, and then you can, if you want, and in fact it's a good idea, if the thing's in front of you, just start sketching it. And that's your automatic cue to go into stage 3. Now there's an automatic cue when you're going from stage 3 to stage 4, and that is when you start getting impressions that are conceptual. You know, up until then you're getting sensories and dimensionals, but all of a sudden you get, this thing feels scientific, or this thing feels religious, and that's a conceptual, so you're going into phase 4. The other time you go into phase 4 is when you want to. So from stage 2 to stage 3, really that's the only one where there is a hard and fast rule. When you have the AI, you're out of phase 2, but you can still get impressions in phase 3 by making a sketch and then feeling around on the sketch, because it is an ideogram, and when you feel around on it, you'll get impressions just like you did in phase 2. Did that answer the question, or?
Yeah, yes, it did. Thank you. I was wondering, do you ever force an AI? Like, sometimes I try that and it kind of seems to work. Like you just say, yeah, I'm going to have an AI.
Yeah, and there's a standard way of forcing an AI to happen, too. Let's say you're working along and you never get that feeling like it's in front of me, or it's, you know, beside me or something, so you never get the AI. What you do is you take a blank sheet of paper and you go back and look, and you've got somewhere in there that the target is tall, let's say. So you make a mark on the bottom of the page, and then you start feeling your way up the page, and when you get up to the top of whatever it is that you're describing, you'll generally go past it a little and then come back, and as you focus and focus on it more, all of a sudden it'll pop to where it's right in front of you. And that way you can force the AI to happen.
Very cool. Thank you.
I hope that helps, yeah.
Yeah, I never heard that described before, so.
And Lynn, as long as we were talking about...
Yeah, that's in the manual, by the way. I'm sorry, that's in the manual, by the way.
Okay.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I wanted to bring out, I've been encouraging people to learn to take breaks and resume session and work sessions a little longer and so on. And when you take a break and you came out and you were in the P4 matrix, you know, you can take coordinates again if you want to reestablish site contact. But if I'm correct, you can go right back into P4 because that's where you were before. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. I thought I had that right, and I thought maybe I should ask. So. Yeah.
One of the things is that with CRV, each stage is a different different set of tools, and you pick up the tools as you need them. So let's say you're in phase 6 or 5 or 4 or anything, and all of a sudden, let's say you take a move command to 5 miles north. Hey, drop back to phase 1, get some ideograms and see what's there, what gestalts are there. Let's say you're in the middle of phase 3 and you touch something and you get a red or, you know, tall or something like that, then just write it down as a phase 2. But the thing is that these tools should be under your control. It's not your obligation to go 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and all. Once you learn to use these as tools, you use them as the situation requires, as the target requires.
Okay, just because we've been encouraging learning structure, and it occurred to me as I was reviewing this session today, it's like, wait a minute, we don't have to go through, if you want to go through S2s all over again, you can, it's your call.
Sure.
But you don't have to. If you were in P4 before, just make sure you've got site contact to your satisfaction, just go right back into it.
Sure. Let's say
it gets confusing because they were getting conceptuals and stuff, and they were all over the place, and if they'd have had that matrix, they'd been imperfect. They didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So.
Let's say you're in stage 4 and you want to do a stage 3 sketch. Drop into stage 3, do a sketch, and then move right back to phase 4. Feel around your sketch and put it into the phase 4 matrix.
And as long as we're touching on sketching, what happens if you get a sketch in P2? Is that an ideogram, and can that be probed?
Generally, it is not an ideogram. Generally, it's, you know, you're getting some kind of a shape and you don't know the name of it, so you finally just go over and you say, oh, it's this shape here.
Right.
So in phase 2, your sketches are almost always just explanations, sort of explanatory sketches.
I always like to point that out.
Yeah, there's a big however here. If you're in stage 2, and you've been in stage 2 for a long time, and you've done some sketches, and you go back to one of those sketches and start tapping it, and you get impressions from it like you would from an ideogram, it's an indicator that you had an AI and missed it.
Yep.
So you need to go back through and sort of see, at some point, did this thing pop into a spatial relationship to me?
Well, as often as that question comes up on the list, it hasn't for a little while lately, I like to touch base and make sure that people kind of have an understanding that those sketches in P2 are usually just because you don't have the words to describe what you're trying to describe.
Right.
So you sketch it.
Yeah.
So,
and just like I saw Deborah's, you know, the face.
Yeah.
you don't want to sit there and give 20 pages of descriptors to describe a face. Sketch it. and that face is the explanation of what you're seeing, you know, or what you're getting.
All right. Well, I hate to say, but I think we need to move on to our next viewer, and several people are not here. Jed's here. Russ is here. Let's see here. All right, let's get Jed's session up. And let's see. I tried to, I was telling these guys if they can get their sessions to me, I could try to make some comments on them before. I can't type in here, but I can from my document program. So I was telling him, because he's been working on his structure, and he's really improving, and he's getting some early ideograms now. He's getting compound ideograms, and actually let me free up his mic. Hi, Jed.
Hello.
Hey, feel free to jump in here and talk about your session.
Okie doke.
How do you feel about it so far? You've been turning in some targets pretty regularly. How do you feel about things?
Well, I looked at this session data, and I really think that what I hit was the guy on the bicycle.
Oh. Oh, that's always a possibility.
Yeah.
I really, when we get to the bottom here, I thought maybe you'd slipped in time, but just because it would be an exciting thing, and I wanted you to think about it, not necessarily that you had, because it's possible. But everybody's getting catapults, so now who knows?
Yeah, I believe on one side which brings me to a question. When I'm doing the data worksheet, where do I start out putting in my session the data? After the P3 sketch, or before the P3 sketch, or at the beginning?
Scoring? Do you mean scoring for data?
Yes. Yes.
Your summary.
On the data worksheet, you start at the summary. Is that where you're?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the summary, you're still viewing during the summary, and I think I even wrote on your session that you had some new perceptions pop through. And you go through your session one perception at a time, and you decide what your conscious mind jumped in there and tried to help you out with, and what your subconscious mind was recording. And that's how you write your summary. And then your data sheet is taken from your summary. Extra stuff, Lynn? You want to jump in there?
I was just reading this note that you made.
Oh,
Maybe you can start to move to, okay, land. Good, you're working. Penmanship and spelling aren't good in a session.
Well, that's because he and I have talked. He feels badly. I was going to ask you, he's striving to print. And I told him, you know, if everybody in session, their penmanship usually goes to pot, and so does their spelling.
Oh, and okay, so, that's what you meant. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
And so for Jed, I was gonna tell him, if you want to write, don't be printing for me.
Did you move to the next page or what?
I may have. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Go we back up?
Yeah, please.
I just yeah, I was just trying to get this recorded for the.
Oh yeah. Okay. Analyst clarification. You have an AOL of talk.
Yeah, I was asking him.
Grassy, gritty, heavy, mushy, sloping, tender, green, white.
And then I was just checking if that was the word talk. I was asking.
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh, here, the stray cat. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Talk. Good deal. Okay.
Being able to make comments in these little PDFs has turned out to be a nice thing.
Yeah, it is.
I just can't do it in WebEx.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking if we could get these recorded, you know, they also pass on some tips to people who might be paying attention later.
You bet.
And now Jed's starting to get some stuff going on here with tractors. Was that you? It was a roller coaster person? Somebody,
yes.
Is that you?
Yes.
And I was wondering. Now, see, you've got some dimensionals coming in. I just wanted to teach you to watch for those and watch for your AI, because the AIs don't always knock you over, as Lynn was just saying.
Yeah.
Now Lynn, I was going to say, watch this train stuff with him. So, and then
okay, on the tractor, that came after noise. And train, railroad, noisy, choo-choo, and all that. I don't think that any of these pictures in this feedback show it, but as you go right behind the castle, there's a huge lake out there just full of motorboats racing back and forth.
Yeah.
And that may be the noise he was hearing.
I see. Because it keeps coming back.
Yeah.
And he's getting more gestalts popping through. And he's only a basic viewer, so he has set aside the noun person. Lynn, would you like to maybe take just a second, because I don't want to teach them to get dependent on saying landiness or
yeah.
You know, what I'm trying to say over in F2, you can fudge just a little bit, but I don't want to teach them bad things.
Right, and I noticed here on this page, about the below on the page, he has falling, and you have motion gestalt popping through. This is one thing that every viewer really needs to learn to watch out for. They will, you know, they'll do phase 1 and they'll say land, water, and man-made. And then further on down in their session, they'll hear children laughing or people talking or something. There's your biological gestalt. And so not all of the gestalts are going to come in phase 1. As you get closer and closer to the target, you're going to pick up new gestalts.
Sorry it made you feel kind of sick there, Jed. But now he's got roller coaster stuff starting.
Okay.
Yeah, and now he's starting with this steep thing. And he's been, you remembered, he's been putting his purpose before he probes his sketch and writes those down. So I was just trying to get him to do purpose last and set himself up for the S4 matrix, or P4.
Yeah, good suggestion, yeah.
So he's doing it. He's remembering.
Good. And when you ask for purpose, if you're just in the basic course, remember the reason you're asking is just to form the habit of looking for purposes at the end of stage 3. If it's completely wrong or right, it really doesn't matter, because the purpose here is to train yourself and not to get specific information about the target. If you do get information about the target, hey, that's great. But when you cue for purpose, what you're doing there is getting yourself into a habit, and you're getting your subconscious into a habit of giving you a conceptual right at the end of your phase 3 sketch.
And
is that clear?
Yeah.
He's gotten that somebody's heroic. That's more than your basic S2.
Yeah, there's your conceptual, heroic.
Yep.
Right there. That's perfect.
And now we're on that choo-choo train or the roller coaster or something. So
Noisy.
Green, perpendicular, tender, sharp, edges, bluish. picking up some colors there.
Hey, this is in Ireland. You're going to get green. Purpose commuting, okay.
That's where I think I hit the guy on the bicycle looking at the castle.
That could be, yeah. Yeah, there are bike paths along there. There's a lot of tourist stuff. There's a big parking lot. There are, well, I put as much of the site in as I could.
Right. We'll switch over and get it recorded when I will do my desktop. So, and here's something new: horsing around, and you got a temperature. It's cool. So Jed's been only getting like 3 or 4 perceptions per gestalt, and so he's really expanded with this session. And the roller coaster's back again. Now I made some little notes down here, and it wasn't to say that he was slipping in time, but he doesn't have a manual yet, and I wanted him to just be introduced to if he might have slipped in time to something exciting, because we didn't know about the boats and roller coasters. But
Okay.
would you like to say something, Lynn, about if a viewer does find themselves slipping in time, which I have done,
where
how
do you
would
see slipping in
would
time?
you? Oh, I didn't for sure.
Okay,
Only because
because
he got catapults and was seeing all these motion things.
there's a catapult there.
Is there? We
Yes.
have a confirm.
Yeah. And a sense of being slippery,
Yeah.
being in an elevated position.
Yeah.
It's a tall, tall castle overlooking a lake.
Yeah.
So it has that elevated, but it's, I mean, it's not 5 feet above water level. But the castle is tall and very huge,
Yeah.
actually.
Somebody got it 3 stories.
Yeah, and the ground is slippery. I'm not sure how many stories it would be. The ground is slippery in places, especially right down at the water's edge. I was kind of interested to see if, when I was there, I was down at the water's edge picking up the sand and rocks and looking at them. And I was really interested to see if anybody was going to get their moonstones all through those rocks.
Really?
Yeah.
No, no, and I was just using this opportunity to talk to him about slipping in time and for us to talk this evening. If a viewer does seem to be attracted to something more exciting in time, how would they stay or cue themselves in session?
Hold your ears, kid. He's about to say the P word. Practice, practice, practice.
But how about like view in the present time or some
Yeah, you can give yourself cues through there. Almost all beginners slip back and forth in time. It takes a while to get your sea legs in time, and it just takes practice, practice, practice. You can facilitate that a little by every now and then saying either move to the present time or move to the time of the feedback photo and describe. And so cueing yourself to move back to the targeted time. Once you've gotten a lot of sessions under your belt, you'll have your sea legs, and this really won't be that much of a problem.
Right, and I'm not saying that he did, but I was taking the opportunity to bring that up here tonight so we can discuss it. Not with Jed necessarily, but I thought everybody could benefit from hearing it. So.
Yeah.
I do have one last comment. When I look at the session page or the target page, I believe he said it had rained earlier in the day.
Believe so, yeah. Yeah.
it looked like it, but you know, it looked overcast to me, and it looked damp. But
well, I could say it's Ireland, of course.
that's, yeah. But anyway, Jed, do you have anything else that you'd like to bring up, or any other questions before we move on to the next viewer?
I sent you a new email with this last session. I did correct one thing. The end session says 0249 Central Time, and it's supposed to be 0149.
Oh, okay.
I looked at my clock wrong when I...
Yeah. I was noticing 1:15 was when you started the session. You do your sessions about the same way I do. Wait until everybody's sound asleep and then go at it.
Well, he works 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Oh, man. And what do you do in your spare time?
Take care of
Takes care of his mom.
Yeah.
Yep. Takes care of his mom. So. All right. Well, unless there's anything else from you gentlemen, we probably should move on to our next viewer.
Thank you.
It was a good
You're
session.
welcome. Yep. All right, let's see who we have here. We're trying to see, but he is not here. Now,
Okay.
Russ is here. I'm jumping around. And of course, he is. Here we go. And Russ, let me take his mic off. Hi, Russ. And again, Russ has been learning online and is just trying to catch up and do what he can. And I was wondering, Russ, have you ever heard of 10,000 Roads, TKR website? That's free and open to the public, and you are already changing up quite a bit as to what I would get from you on your first couple of sessions. I'm wondering if you would sign up and become a member over at TKR. The participation with the viewers there might help you. Because I'm trying to think. I don't think you've even learned off a disc or anything, have you? You're just trying to pick this up from, like, Stargate and IRVA boards. Is that correct? Oh, Russ is typing only. Sorry.
No.
He did that in 2006. He says he went to TKR. Okay. So, I haven't had a chance to work with Russ insofar as trying to teach him any kind of structure for CRV for the most part. He's the gentleman who makes very intricate sketches, and we were talking about those like 2 weeks ago. Very intricate sketches, and probes them and gets a lot of information, and we're just gradually trying to get him into a more structured way of recording. Russ, I know you're typing, and it's to me privately, but is there anything you'd like to type in that you'd want to talk to Lynn about? Because until I can either...
Down below the typing area, there's a thing that says send to.
Yeah.
And if you have host in there, then the host is the only one who gets it.
I know.
But if you say all attendees will get it.
Yeah, Russ, if you could, on your ellipsis right there where it says host, if you open that box up, it says all participants, and then everybody can read it. But I can read the statements as long as I know you've made them. But, so TKR didn't help you so much.
Yeah, TKR is a great place for beginners, but it's sort of a minefield in that you have so many people with so many different methodologies and beliefs and everything, and you just have to, you know, be very careful about the advice you get. Try it and see if it works, and if it doesn't, then move on to some other advice. So it can be a minefield for beginners, but it's really a great place. There are helpful people there.
And Russ, I think I did explain that if you were interested, the 1985 initial CRV structure is on my website, or you can Google it and it can come up too. But anyway, he's getting a lot of information, and he's starting to record it in a better trackable format for somebody else because his sketches are so intricate, and he's just got tons of perceptions packed into them.
Good.
And so I didn't really know how to help him sort those out, but what I'm seeing today is definitely an improvement insofar as he's learning that other people have to understand him, but he didn't know how to explain or try to record for that.
Yeah.
And he says he's going to Google more. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to Google more, but Russ, is there anything you'd like to type in about your session, something that you got? You have a question? I know you don't have a mic. And you've got a summary sectioned out here. That's good. But he's starting to separate out things like gestalts, and I haven't had a chance to really work with him. But he's made a lot of progress even. And what I just want to try and help him with is, here's someone who has a genuine interest. They're putting in a lot of time, and they're getting stuff, but they're spinning their wheels, sort of, and they want to do better. And so I'm just trying to do what I can. Well, you say here that you omitted some good data. If it's not written down, you know what that means. And he is typing, so I'm giving him a little time here.
Is he still just typing to host?
Yeah, but
okay.
That's okay. I'm reading it, and it'll make it into the session transcript on the recording.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't want to mess him up too much trying to give him directions. He's doing okay.
Oh.
But see, he's getting some recording structure down here, and he is actually trying to work in the S4 matrix. And I haven't had a chance to email him or anything to talk to him about, you know, if this is like his summary, if he's taken his perceptions off his big sketch. And, yeah, Russ, let me ask you that. Here you have the S4 matrix and all these perceptions listed. Did you transfer those from one of your sketches? Or did you actually get them in this fashion? Thanks. Cindy has posted the link to my site where the 1985 CRV methodology manual came from the research time.
Yeah. Teresa, you know what EI, TAN, and INT stand for, don't you?
I'm scrolling back up. Tangibles and intangibles?
Right. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And EI is what Ingo calls emotional impact.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is that in that column,
yeah,
you can get all kinds of stuff that has no tie whatever to emotions.
Uh-huh.
And so that's why we call it site impact. Or
uh-huh. Yeah, and now that you've brought that up, I've been trying to make comments to the people whose sessions I'm getting. Jed was one. He would write EI down next to, he'd declare his spatial relationship with the AI, and then he would say EI, emotional impact. And so I was like thinking that he was doing something different. So, okay.
Yeah, well, every AI has an emotion tied to it.
And that's why every time that would happen, I would explain, you want to set that aside. Yeah, every session has one. Every viewer has that reaction, da-da-da. Well, Russ seems to have gone silent. So, Russ, if I see more comments from you, we will make a note of them. And I don't see any of the other people here who turned in sessions, but we can go over them. And if they download this later. And Lynn, can you tell me how do I pronounce this person's first name again?
Pavel.
Pavel. Okay. I wanted to get my emphasis on the right.
You pronounce it P-A-V-E-L.
Yeah. All right. Pavel.
Pavel. Mm-hmm.
Well, I just got this session, I think, tonight, late after I got in off work or home from the grocery, and I made just a very few comments. Like, he did have a POCA, preview of coming attractions, and I was trying to explain to move that down to the set-aside. And then he's one of Lori's students. I was trying to make a note here for him that he's got all these ideograms, and I was trying to make a note that he needed to take coordinates on the two lines and get his ideogram and then do his IAB sequence.
Yeah.
So hopefully if he downloads this, I'll try and give him an email. Because, and he's getting a ton of water gestalts, and I made a note here that it's time to go to P2. You've got, I mean, you can take them for a year if you want to, but you have repeating, and ask me again and I'll tell you the same.
Yeah.
Although, he did get snow here, so we have a different kind of water if he got snow. I think my dog has picked up my cough.
Teresa?
Yeah.
Am I on camera?
No. Actually, nobody
Good.
is, I don't think.
I'm turning this light off then.
Aw. No, you got in late, and to tell you the truth, I didn't even think about it.
Okay.
But you could be.
No, that's all right.
So anyway, he's getting a bunch of water, and I was trying to encourage him to leave some space between his lines. And here I was trying to encourage him that, in the P4 matrix, he'll get to work with these nouns, but he was sketching over here, and I didn't get a chance to think about it a whole lot. I was getting a little worried that he might be getting a little too interested in these trees. But so I'm just scrolling down through here if there's something that you'd like to comment on, so if he listens to this later. And here he had organics, a new gestalt popped through, and a little quirky little drawing there.
I would like to say something here.
Sure.
Lack of humidity.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm not going to talk about that part of his session or anything. What I want to talk about is the analyst problem here, okay?
Okay.
He's from San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
Lack of humidity. I'm from the middle of one of the driest deserts in the whole country, and when I was there, it felt like I was swimming. I would have, swimming through the air, I would have reported a lot of humidity, and the analyst needs to know the viewers, their background, and all that, so that differences like this can be taken into consideration during the analysis of the session. So, like if I were to put highly humid, I could be right. Him saying lack of humidity, he could also be right.
Oh.
See how that works?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, here I'm noticing he's got a stray cat AOL of sand on the desert, and now we're all of a sudden, and he's supposed to be viewing Ireland. And now we have, and it could be hot and steamy there because other people did get that. But he's got hot and lack of humidity and not plant friendly.
Yeah. I think he's building a castle right there about the desert.
By the way, that came up in conversation. If you're really viewing a castle and you're building a castle, is that kind of that little pun there? We thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Creek and moving water, okay. Yeah, and see, he almost immediately gets away from the castle because all of a sudden he has creek, moving water, green, yellow flowers, and so on. So he didn't get caught by the castle, he just kind of snagged on the edge of it and then freed himself and went on.
By the way, you know about the lake and stuff over there? Sweet water mixing with salt water. Are they anywhere near salt water? I don't think.
Yeah, they are.
I could.
But I'm pretty sure that the lake, you know, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know whether that opens onto the ocean or not. I kind of think it's just a sort of a mountain lake. I'm not sure.
And then he's got a lot of setting aside of people smiling and talking. And oneness, he's getting some conceptuals here. Being honest to yourself. Uh-oh. I don't think he likes tights. Horrible, horrific. Then now we have gentle and moving.
Yeah. What it looks like, to me, if I were just, you know, not knowing him and just looking at the structure here, it looks like he's trying to identify the target, and therefore he's jumping from one castle to another, you know, from one set of stray cats to another. And, I mean, you know, he says mountain climbers and all that, and then he has the high altitude, green, fast, horrible, horrific, gentle moving, face of an old woman, arthritic hands, and then, you know, this seems to be sort of an indicator that he's trying to identify the target, is latching on to something, testing it out, and then letting it go because it just doesn't seem to work out. And so what you tell a viewer like this, in a case like this, is stop trying to identify the target. Just describe. But with the whole list of stray cats he's got here, he, you know, he's just trying as hard as he can to identify the target, and that's always going to mess you up.
He's actually getting bikers, you know, and there were kids riding bikes in the feedback photo. And then, okay, here's somebody with battlefield. I couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah.
And there was huge battles there.
Yeah. Let's see how he's gone from mountain climber to, you know, somebody riding a bicycle home from the station, and an old woman with arthritic hands and all that. He's searching. He'll like soft green slick. Okay, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I zoomed on you.
That's okay.
Now we're just now getting, he took a break, and now he's getting some big sketches.
Yeah.
And this stray cat will be chasing me now.
Oh, okay.
And he's stuck on a DNA strand. See, I didn't get a chance to look through this whole thing.
Yeah.
So I was wondering where this was going to go. And it reminded him of a Sydney Philharmonic.
Mm-hmm.
But way at the top, you know, it does look kind of pointy. I'm not trying to waffle. But I'm just wondering where this is going to go. And he did say he had a lot of this. He was trying to view, and he's got taxes, a busy schedule, he's commuting, and he's not happy.
Yeah.
Somebody's not happy. He's trying his hardest to work this session. I'll drop him a note about his structure. Maybe have him talk to Lori.
Yeah. He's trying pretty well on that structure. I mean,
he's working this target like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For a basic viewer.
Yeah, this isn't shabby at all. Yeah.
European location. Some kind of residency. There's a labyrinth there. Am I missing anything important? Like high voltage posts. It's tall, and it keeps reminding him of DNA strands.
The only thing I know that could be like reminding him of DNA strands.
Uh-huh.
While I was there, I was just fascinated by the stonework.
Uh-huh.
It is so intricate and so detailed that it's just, I mean, you know, all of a sudden you're missing the castle because you're so focused on the rocks that make it up.
Uh-huh. Look at him, he's taxes, tired, stressed. And still he's trying to practice.
Yeah.
You know, you just gotta say God love his heart. He's still trying to practice.
This structure he's coming up with is pretty good here.
Yeah, he kind of, I mean, he was all jumbled up with all those coordinates piled on top of each other and everything.
Yeah.
He's spacing out, and I don't mean spacing mentally, I mean he's...
Would you go back to the page before that?
Yeah.
AI on the right. Familiar, uneasy feeling, a strange distraction project for Michael. Okay. Green vest on the right. So all of a sudden there's his spatial relationship to the target. And he recognizes the AI. He puts that it's on the right, familiar, uneasy feeling, and then I feel strange and funny. Okay? So it has the descriptor of the relationship, and then it has the emotion that accompanied it suddenly being on his right. That's perfect structure right there.
Yep. And now all of a sudden it's almost like he's, I don't know, slowed down or relaxed or something.
Some kind of stone monument on a tall and old, okay, which is, I mean, that is the identification of the target right there. Some kind of stone monument on a tall and old. Now it looks like a bridge. There is a bridge there crossing the creek, but it's a modern one that's for cars.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how many pages we have here. Oh. Did you remember to feed the cat?
Yeah, she's just complaining because Linda's not here.
Yeah. Oh,
The dogs
she
are
missed her
doing the
mama.
same.
Yeah. Aw. Mom's gone. Oh, listen to her. Life on the battlefield. And horrified. You know, he could put this stuff in an S4 matrix or P4. Somebody's got a question. I got a little light up here in the box. Oh, David Beatty sneaked in. Hello to you. Let's see. Not plant friendly. And he is done. Yep. Anything else you'd like to say about that, Lynn?
Oh, he keeps getting not plant friendly.
Yeah.
I would have to kind of agree on that. The place is rocky ground.
Uh-huh.
And you know, there's all kinds of trees and plants all around.
Uh-huh.
But oh, anyone catching a glimpse? Sure, okay. A large rock entrance to the bay. So this probably is saltwater.
Okay.
I forget what I was saying now. Oh,
All
but
right.
the land itself is very rocky. So you know, this is Ireland. I mean, you got things growing all over the place, but it is very rocky land, and the ground is not what I would call plant friendly.
All right. David Beatty has sneaked in here.
Good.
And I am looking for an old email because I knew, and I've had some contact with him. David, did you send me a session? Because I was thinking I might have lost one.
I will be right back.
Okay.
I've got 2 dogs and a cat laying here that I'm having to step over to get out of my...
Oh, that's interesting. David, since you're actually here, I cannot remember. Did you send me a session? Because I'll find it if you did. And he is typing. He's in Rainbow Lake, Alberta. And I hear typing.
Oh, I guess my mic isn't muted.
No, you're live.
Okay, I've got a session in front of me, but I didn't get the summary typed, and I didn't get it scanned. I flat ran out of time.
Yeah.
And so I didn't submit it because I couldn't meet the submission time.
I gotcha. It's kind of a scramble for me to have to pull them up at the last minute and be running in and out of emails and stuff.
Yeah.
Let me just see. Let me get Michelle's at least recorded since she sent it in. Lynn said he'll be right back, but Michelle is a viewer who has studied with Paul through intermediate, I think, and here she actually has 2 gestalts. You don't see that every day, but that's a compound ideogram. I lied. Complex. Compound is more than 1 gestalt on 1 line. Complex is 2 separate gestalts. And so then she comes over and does her IAB sequence. And she doesn't declare her set-asides the way Lynn teaches us. You know, Paul just probably does it a little different. And then I was just making notes for her that I'm pretty sure she just dropped down and started immediately working that gestalt that was right above here, but she only has structure so far and land. And so I am left to assume that she jumped to, you know, land. But I can't do that. I have to ask her. And she hasn't indicated. And so then, now all of a sudden, we're getting some people laughing. And I didn't get a chance to make very many comments on her session. But now she's getting a different type of biological humming, and she's setting aside a hummingbird. She heard humming sounds. So I'm talking out loud now as we go. Spirals and snail shells. Michelle said that she told me in an email that Paul recently told her that he thinks that she should start working with the fine. Oh, and Michelle has sneaked in on me. Congratulations on you, your note from Paul that you should maybe start working with the Find Me group. Let me find where your mic is. Looks like I just made you a panelist. Now I'll take your mic off. You're live, Michelle.
Hello. Something was wrong. Okay. I can put in my headphones so there's no feedback. Hang on a second.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks. And I don't know how long you were sitting over there so quietly. Let me just back this up. And Lynn had to step out. I'm sure he'll tell us when he's back. But I was just saying that you had a compound enneagram, which is more than, or complex, which is 2 gestalts on 2 lines. At least that's what I was thinking, that you looks like a big number 7 here, and then your, whatever that is, it looks kind of like a baby carriage or a spoon or scoop. Then you have 2 gestalts. You have structure and land. And I was, when we learn with Lynn, he teaches us how to set aside things that will distract us. I was going to ask you if you wanted to talk about that in email sometime, but you don't have to. You do just fine with the way Paul taught you. Then I had a question here about S2. I don't know, as an analyst, I don't know which gestalt you're working here. You're out of structure.
So,
you should have S2 and in parentheses whatever gestalt you're working.
Okay, so I was never taught that with Paul, just to go whether it was 1 Enneagram or 2. To just go
but
right
into. But I still don't know
yeah.
which perceptions, which one, you know, you were probing or whatever for perceptions.
Paul teaches to just go into stage 2 and not cue with anything.
So I just go right on in and say what comes.
And it works.
Yeah, the fact is that when you cue with something, you're going to be winking about the site anyway.
Yeah.
So let's say you cue with land, you're going to get descriptors of land and the water and the man-made and people and everything else. Following that, Paul, for some reason, just says go into stage 2 and don't cue with anything. That's his way of teaching. So.
Well.
And as he tells us, he's the best instructor in the world. So.
Now be nice. Be nice.
Lynn, do you work with the beacon at all? Using a beacon during a session?
Sure, we've done that before. Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. I've learned a little bit about that recently from Marty, and I wondered what your thoughts were on it.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, this is an aside, by the way, one of the interesting things about a beacon is that in the experiments and all that, they always have the beacon at the target, and then you're supposed to tell, describe the location of the beacon. But in remote viewing, time is very pliable. The fact is, let's say you're going to the target later for feedback to the location. Fine, you can use yourself at a future time as the beacon.
Interesting, okay. Interesting.
I was noticing on this sketch, there's 2 or 3 people who are getting stuck with these wavy lines. And Lynn has confirmed for us that there actually is a catapult there.
Yeah, the whole place is turned into a museum now.
Oh. It'd be nice if we had some inside shots.
Yeah,
it was not a well-lit place.
Yeah.
I just got a real
spiraling throughout the session. So I'm kind of curious if anyone else got that and what that might be about. Maybe it'll come up later.
Lynn, does that look anything like the catapult or whatever?
The catapult was just kind of folded back in a room, so I really can't say.
I see. Because, it kind of reminds me of the DNA.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this sketch that the other viewer got.
Lynn, what would have been, I picked up something wood, some kind of wood or boards. Was there any kind of wood or of any kind?
Oh, yeah.
That came through loud too.
Yeah, the whole place is, the outside is stone, but all of the floors are heavy, heavy timbers. All of the, everything in it that's not the outside shell of it is just heavy wood timbers, and the chairs. Oh, these days, if you had one of those chairs in your dining room, it'd take 3 people to move the chair out so you could sit in it or something.
Oh my!
Mm-hmm.
It said that the feedback is full of oak furniture. And
I don't know about. I don't know if it was oak or not, but yeah.
That's what it said. And I have a really nice shot of a beautiful wooden door.
Lovely, yeah, because one of these drawings here in a moment looked like some kind of boarded wall of some kind, and I just thought, what? It's funny the things that come through.
And here's your summary, Dan. Would you like to talk about your summary at all, or?
Are you asking me, Teresa?
Sure.
Okay, let's see if there's anything remarkable about that. Just the spiraling really was really prevalent. I felt, I went to about 500 feet over the top, and I did get a sense of something really tall, high being important, and then I felt like it looked like a silo or a water tower from over the top. And that came through as AOL. But, I definitely knew it was some kind of structure. Yeah, I feel like that summary was probably a little bit vague. And here's one thing I want to say. I really wanted to focus this session on making it shorter. And that actually even came through in an AOL early on, because I felt like for some reason the 20-page CRE session was not moving me at that moment. And I wanted to see what could come in 7 or 8 pages. And so I really focused on that and maybe even a little bit of speed. And I didn't care if I didn't get things right. I just wanted to see if I could get it all done in that time and, in that amount of pages. For some reason, that's how I felt about this session.
Well, I think it looks pretty good.
There's some good site contact here.
Yeah. I like it. Someone taking a sip of coffee.
Yeah. Reminds me of a silo and water tower.
Uh-huh. And good move command.
Yeah.
And meaning, when you say
no,
move
yeah,
command,
I like to see. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
when you say good move command, what do you mean by that?
You told the analyst that you moved yourself from 500 feet above, and what is PSVP?
Something
Target should be perceivable.
Target should be perceivable.
Oh. So you moved yourself 500 feet above it, and now you're describing.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what that means.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
John Glass taught me when he monitored to stay curious, keep moving, keep your nose in the target.
Well, and Lynn, can I ask you a question too? One of the things I really enjoy about Stage 4 is the opportunity to go to that site and kind of meet with someone and see who shows up, maybe someone working there, and talk with them and see what they show me. Now, when I do that, and I meet with that person, is it good to also write in my Stage 4 data maybe what they look like, what they're wearing, a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely, and the things that they tell you and the things that you say to them as well. And as long as you can keep it as a conversation between two people, the EI column is fantastic for getting information, because you can go to different people at the target and get their view of it, get their thoughts about it and everything else. What you want to be very careful of in the EI column is if you start getting emotionally involved in what they say, you can get sucked into them, and it can be very dangerous to you. So do exactly what you're doing. Go and make a conversation back and forth. But always keep it you and them, and you and them, and you and them. Never let it become us, okay?
Okay, very good.
Anything else you'd like to bring up, Michelle?
I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Nice session.
How long did this session take?
Oh boy, I can't, the times are on there from beginning to end, but
let's just see.
Yeah, let's take a quick look.
All right,
Usually
we'll go to the last page because we're closer.
Okay. Oh no, it's not there, it's up.
Yeah. Well, now let's come back.
Scroll down.
In 3:30.
I have to do the web. Just a minute now.
Yeah. But you did this in 9 pages. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just really made a concerted effort to see what I could come up with.
Okay, you ended at 3:10. And going back to page 1, we're trying to go back to page 1. 2:39 to 3:10, 30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah. Very good.
Hey, that's good. You banged out that session in 31 minutes?
Actually, that seems kind of long. Okay, and I'm reminded of one more question. I don't want to hog too much time, but Lynn, I have learned, I can't remember, maybe it was a Stephen Schwartz or somewhere along the way in an interview, the comment was made that it matters at what time you do the CRB session, and the most ideal time was somewhere around 1:30, and a not so ideal time was like early evening. Are you aware, or do you have any input on that kind of timing?
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion on that. That is sidereal time. The best time for remote viewing is 1:47 sidereal time, and sidereal is always in 24 hours, so it's not morning and afternoon. It's, you know, there's not a 1:47 morning and 1:47 evening. But sidereal time means star time. It does not mean sun time. The sun is overhead at noon, and it's 24 hours before it's overhead again. But during that time, the Earth is moved to the side. And so the actual revolution of the Earth is around 4 minutes and some odd seconds different from the noon to noon. And as a result, the sidereal time changes in relation to the regular time every single day. Excuse me, the thing you have to do is look at the sidereal time, and S-I-D-E-R-E-A-L. Some people call it sidereal, but it's sidereal. And at 1:47 sidereal time, you are facing most out of the galaxy. The spot where you are on the Earth is facing most out of the galaxy that it will be during the entire day. You know, the galaxy is a disk, and we're tilted in relation to that disk, and so sometime during the day you are pointed out toward totally open space. Now, 1800 hours sidereal, which also changes by 4 minutes every single day, you're pointed the most you're going to be toward the center of the galaxy, and remote viewers, psychics, and in fact almost all psychic functioning really suffers from that. We don't know whether it's the gravity or some kind of rays or who knows what, magnetism. Nobody's really sure. But what you need to know is that sidereal time, let's say 1800, which would be 6 in the evening if you were going by clock time, that changes. And let's say today, I don't know if this is true or not, but let's say today that 1800 hours sidereal time coincides with 1800 hours clock time. Tomorrow it's going to be 4 minutes different. The next day it's going to be 8 minutes different. The next day 12 minutes, and so on. And in half a year it's going to be 12 hours off from clock time. So don't just depend on clock time to know what the best and worst viewing times are. Was that confusing enough?
That was great. No, it wasn't confusing at all for me, and I took some good notes. There must be somewhere online where there can be some kind of calculator that gives sidereal time, so I'll check that out. But
there's a link that Cindy has just posted over on the comment section.
And there's an app for the iPhone.
Great, yeah, okay.
One thing I learned in high school, I was taking astronomy, and we had a teacher who said, figure out an easy way to tell sidereal time, and I got a wind-up watch and slowed it down by 4 minutes a day, and so the watch always read sidereal time. It was not accurate at all, you know, daytime, but it was it kept sidereal time, and you can do something like that.
When we switch to my desktop after this for feedback, I'll click on that sidereal time link there. Thank you, Cindy. And David has a question. He didn't finish this session in time to send it, but he did work the target, didn't get his summary finished. He's asking, how do I move person to person in the SI column?
Okay, SI is what Paul calls the EI column.
Right.
How do you move from person to person? Simple move commands, the way you would any other way. Let's say that you notice 5 people in the room, or you notice there are multiple people in the room. You haven't really identified the people yet, but you can say, you know, what I want to know about this place is, say to yourself, what I want to know about this place is, what's going on here? Move to the person who could answer that best. And then that brings up another question, and you say, move to the person who could answer that one best, and so on.
And I just made a little note here in this particular image. One of the sessions coming up, Debbie can't be here because her DSL just does not support getting online like this. She's working on that. But one of her sketches, there's a outside railing outside a door here that's in this image. And then a couple of people have gotten things that, sketches that look like this wooden door in the top. I mean, I don't know that they necessarily had wood perceptions right above it or around it or anything like that, but I was just putting it on here for them so that they could see it. Don't know that that's it for sure, but I saw the photo, so I included it.
Yeah, many times in castles, that top part will, you know, even if the doors are closed, that top part will drop down in front of the doors as a double way to keep people out.
Gotcha. All right. And Marco is not here, and I think you got kind of a, well, not too bad, 11 pages. I don't mean not too bad as in just, those 26 pages take a while to scroll through, you know, but it's important that we do. Now, he's actually taken some front loading here. So he's decided to target is a target, describe the target.
Very good.
And he's learning to work
totally neutral front loading, yeah.
Yep, and learning to work with a little pollution there. I mean, let's see, he's gotten man-made and land and space. And almost looked like this last one was maybe going to be 2 for 1. Motion. He's decided to go into P2. For whatever reason, he's picking up winter. Set that aside. It's getting slippery and cool. Countryside. And as we're scrolling through, the reason that we take front loading, if we choose, is to what, Lynn? You want to touch on that, or?
Front loading is totally unnecessary. It's a way to cue you to kind of just jab the subconscious into action, you know, and you know, if you're insecure, well, it looks a whole lot better than sucking your thumb or something, but
you're not making a very positive case for front loading here.
Well, actually, front loading is not necessary. However, let's say you've got a 4-star general sitting in the hallway or sitting in the room with you, tapping his foot and looking at his watch because he wants the answer by yesterday, and you've got a viewer that you know is going to remote view the site and everything at the site until he finally gets around to what the general wants, and then say, okay, let's focus on that. Instead of doing that and having a 5-hour session, why not just give totally neutral wording and say something like, the target is an event. Describe the event aspect of the site. That immediately puts the viewer onto the important part, it doesn't tell the viewer anything about what's going on, and it doesn't give any site information. It just tells the viewer where to put his work. And in a case like that, basically in operations, you'll get front loading like that, shoot, almost all the time. And so I know that a lot of people just are horrified by the idea of front loading because, oh, it, drives me into, anyway, whatever. But the fact is that I teach front loading because in my teaching, in my training, I always train you toward operations. And in operations, there are going to be times when you just have to have that front loading. The front loading has to be neutral, but it has to point you toward what you want at the site. Now, Marco here said the target is a target. Describe the target. It's because he's accustomed to using front loading. He's accustomed to it being neutral, and so he's just using it as a way to kickstart the process.
Now, what if the front loading would have been the target is a man-made? Describe the target.
Describe the man-made aspect. Target's man-made. Describe the target. However, there are some people, I've seen them do this, who will say something like, the target is a historic location or a historic monument. Describe it. Well, you've just told them about the target. You can't do that. You've got to have neutral front loading.
And it also saves you, you're the viewer, you can take coordinates for an hour if you want to and get repeating ideograms, but if you have front loading, you want to save time, save viewer energy, get in and get your information and get back out. You start taking those coordinates and getting your gestalts. You get a water and a bio and boom, your third one is a man-made. You have what your front loading and tasking asked you to get, and so you can move right into P2 without doing all this extra checking out the P&Es and the whole park. You can just go right for what the target actually is asking you for information about. And as Lynn says, one of his examples is there are 5 bazillion man-made, and there are 10 bazillion on a beach. Did we tell you anything about which one? No. There are how many millions of man-mades in the universe, and all it did was tell you that you didn't have to describe all the other stuff.
Right. The analogy that we use for this is that if you're blindfolded and taken around the city and then stood on the street corner, and your command is to shake hands with the first person walking by, and then we yank the blindfold off all of a sudden, your first thought is not to see who's walking by. Your first thought is, where am I? And so, let's say as front loading, we say the target is an event. Describe the event. And then we give you the coordinates, and that's the equivalent of yanking the blindfold off. Your subconscious is not going to give you motion. It's going to give you land, water, because it's concerned with where am I. And then, like Teresa says, the minute it gives you the gestalt for activity, event, or something, that's your mind saying, okay, I'm ready to go to work now. So then you just drop on into stage 2. And you don't have to repeat the ideogram over and over and over again. You just let the subconscious figure out where it is, and then it will give you the proper gestalt for the tasking, and poof, you're ready to go into phase 2 automatically, just like that.
Thanks, Lynn. Little lesson on front loading there. And Marco, last session he did for us, and this one too. Here's some good demonstrations of cueing yourself. If you get stuck, you're all of a sudden you need to kickstart yourself again, and but here, mentally tap on the target. Sound, and he writes hollow, and I can't quite make out that next word. And then mentally tap on the target, texture, and then he writes perception. Mentally push on the target, feel. Mentally clap your hands, sounds. Turn yourself around at the site and describe. There are some people, yeah, go ahead.
These are called action cues, and they're just as good as well, I think they're even better than the cues of color, smells, taste, textures, things like that. But these action cues require you to participate with the site, and as such, these action cues will actually bring you to the point where you will have the AI faster and more solidly, because you're interacting with the site.
Here's one. Mentally put your tongue to it, taste. Now I'm just going to stick in here my age-old story of John Glass monitoring me when we were up in Minnesota. And I was viewing, unbeknownst to me, a fishing trawler. Now, I was underneath it, and he told me to mentally put my tongue to it and taste. And I immediately, it's like, yeah, Tui, forget that. And I'm just like, and he, he's neutral, never blinked an eye, never, but I was not about to taste the bottom of a trawler. And Debbie Katz, who had to leave to teach her own class, said that she's reported twice on the boards when we've had questions. She had one viewer who was absolutely horrified at a target, and it was the prettiest bowl of red strawberries you would ever want to see. But this person is allergic to strawberries in real life. So this viewer, knew that if she were to come near these strawberries, it would not be good for her. So, when you're choosing targets, what seems like the nicest, prettiest target you would ever want to find for someone to view, to practice, every now and then it'll sneak up on you.
Yeah.
And Lynn, if you could, go ahead.
I teach all the students to monitor as well as to view, and so instead of having each viewer just view something, I will have one student monitor them while they view, and then the next target we switch. That way everybody learns monitoring and viewing at the same time. And one of the classes I had, I don't know what the tongue reminded me of this. The target involved the target was this wintry scene, and everything was just frozen over, and icicles hanging all over the place, and there was this metal pole there. And so the viewer was describing this tall round thing, and the one monitoring said, mentally touch your tongue to it, taste, and the viewer said, I'm not good at anything.
Oh, jeez. That's amazing.
The viewer just, could hardly get the words out, I'm not getting anything.
His tongue was for crying out. Well, I tell you, when I went to Russia and viewed for those 3 days, I was freezing. Yeah. I could not get warm. Weird.
It's a different cold.
Yeah. And I was in Alamogordo. It's not cold there. It was winter, but it still wasn't cold like that. But here, turn yourself around at the site and describe. Okay, so you have a viewer who just will not look at something, can't view it. How's a little trick that we can get around that?
Oh, okay. Well, two things here. We have found repeatedly that if you give the surface of the sun, generally a person will talk about total blackness, and they almost always wind up with their back to the sun rather than facing it. the way around a viewer not being able to view something, let's say that someone has successfully protected a target using whatever method or whatever, and the viewer is saying, you know, well, I can't see this target, I can't get to it, or whatever. You say, well, if you could, what would you describe? And the viewer will say, oh, well, if I could see it, I would describe it, and they'll just go ahead and describe it.
Is that hysterical? Well, oh, if I could see it, bing, bada, boom.
Yeah.
And there you go. Let's see, and then just going to go...
By the way, if you want to try that on the Story Stone, go ahead and try it. It won't work, but you'll be amazed at, well, it'll be funny what you get.
And Troy needs to go making notes. Troy, thanks for coming, and I'm glad that you're finding it helpful. I have 3 more targets scheduled, and I have three ideas that I want to try, but I can't keep everybody in the loop, and I don't want to be a spam emailer, so please feel free to go to aiis.webex.com and make sure that you stay current with what's coming up, and we'll be happy to have you here with us. Because he wants to study with Troy, or with Lori. I'm reading the little note here, and he's read with Dave Morehouse's books. Tell you what, not to flood Lynn's book, but it's pretty helpful. So, you know, I like Lynn's and Joe's books and Paul's. I found them to be most helpful when I was trying to learn just what the heck I was maybe getting into here.
Yeah, if you really want to know about controlled remote viewing or about remote viewing, period, don't just limit yourself to the research books. Look up the books written by those who have actually done the work out in the field and in the trenches and all that. And that's usually Paul, Joe, and myself. We're kind of hoping that some of the other military remote viewers will come out and start writing their experiences too. But Dave also has some. And, you know, get a well-rounded, get both sides of the story.
Well, I have Russ and Stephen's books, and I don't have any of Angela's. I have Courtney's. There we go. I wanted to, this pretty detailed sketch Marco is drawn here with labeling. We've got an AI in there. But it is 10:06, so I probably should wrap this up. Thank you, Marco. Even though you are not here, you're in Iceland and probably sound asleep. He told me he is just back from Estonia. So let me get rid of these target images, and we're switched to my desktop. David, I'm feeling kind of bad. I wish we could get your session. I can try. And all I wanted to do was switch off. And we're switching off. We bring up Google, good old Google. Actually, I should have gone to Lynn's site. We'll do both.
Go to just Google Sidereal Time.
I will. Cindy, oh
okay.
Darn, no I don't have, I'll bring her link back up. I will, and we'll get it on the recording that way. But here, okay. There's a bunch of images here. Oh, I took away Debbie Height. you guys don't have to stay, but I want to get Debbie hyped to schedule or session back up here, get it up, because I took her down because I thought maybe I had overloaded WebEx.
Teresa, was this Lynn's target coordinates from his Target of the Week page?
Yep, and I'm going to go there next, and I almost think this little strip here with the dirt and the rocks, one of Debbie's sketches sort of resembles that. That way, if anybody works this target and gets anything that looks like this, oh, what was that little interesting little thing? Some kind of little truss or something. Oh, I'm sorry. And I can't mute from here.
Yeah, from that map that she passed, you can see that it opens up to the ocean. September, so it was wintertime. What you just showed was the tasking basically for each level of experience. And so these targets that I put up there are designed in such a way that no matter what your level of experience, there is something at the target for you to view. This is why it takes me so long sometimes to develop these targets. And Teresa, I am being paged from the other room, so I'm going to have to go ahead and go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been muted here because once I start coughing like that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to leave. I'm going to stay connected. Just U.S. Naval Observatory. Click on that.
I'm looking where.
To the left of the page. To the left of the screen.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm going to leave this on, and I may be back, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn.
Oh, my page doesn't seem to exist. Oh, no. Nope, that's where we just were. And we'll compute it there, and here's a clock. Okay, let's see here. And this is Debbie's target, 37 pages. I've got lots of comments here, so here are some comments about her IAB sequence that I was trying to teach her. She's got all her A's listed and all her B's listed, and so I was pointing out she needs to do her A1 and complete that and go through the feel of the Enneagram and then go to B1 and then go to A2, describe that Enneagram, and the feel of the Enneagram, and then go to B2. And she has an extremely good nose. Things make her sneeze and cough. And I just wanted to, I don't know if the comments will help anybody because we're scrolling fairly fast here. And I'm teaching her that for cueing, she had structure, and then she wanted to explore that, but to tell the analyst that she has moved to that piece of the target specifically and is describing it, that technically you drop the word down again and put it in parentheses, and that tells the analyst that you're focusing on that particular part of the target. And there's complex. She's moved complex over into the, she's not exactly sure if it's at the site. And here's another sketch. It almost, she describes loved and signaled and waving. It reminded me like the motion that a traffic cop would make when he's, you know, signaling you to come forward. Not that that's what that is, but it also looked a lot like Michelle's sketch. And then even Debbie can't figure out what these rounded funnel things are. Then if Lynn were here, she was getting an awful lot of perceptions with this AOL. And I was getting a little worried about that.
Oh,
I hear noises.
I just heard that last part.
Uh-huh.
What did you say?
Debbie was getting an awful lot of perceptions related to this AOL. And I was concerned that she was hanging out there. She and I have not discussed P5s yet, so she could find out what's in that AOL that's, you know, gotten her attention and get it out of the way. But I was concerned that maybe she was hanging out there a little too long and actually had perceptions.
Yeah, that's what's happening there.
I couldn't tell if the perceptions were from the AOL or if she just needed to move back to the left hand side of the page.
And it looks like she just needs to, okay, here's analyst hat going on, okay?
Uh-huh.
Feeling, circulating, AOL break, and it looks like instead of an AOL break and a list of descriptors, what she should have is an emotional distractor break saying, I'm not certain of what I'm getting, and then go ahead and put the impressions down on the left side that she's getting.
Uh-huh.
What something like this, there is a thing called a run of stray cats, where you'll have AOL, one noun, AOL another noun, AOL another noun, and so on, and you have a whole list of nouns. That's called a run of stray cats, or, run of AOLs, or getting the runs. What he has here is AOL, and then a list of descriptors, and it looks like the reason she put it on the right side is because she's worried that these descriptors she's getting may not be the target or something like that. So it looks like this is an emotional break rather than an AOL break. Now, she would be the only one who could actually tell you for sure.
Sometimes she gets stuff coming in so fast.
Yeah.
And then again, we're going to be talking here in about a second. She gets stuff when she's washing the dishes and driving down the road. And here I was wondering if this, either that door, is tweaking sound, and that metal grate thing. It's hard to say, but I at least had 2 screenshots that sort of looked like that sketch. So I sent them. And then she and I have talked at length about what you're about to see right here, and she said that she didn't mind us talking about it because she got the wet noodles out herself. Not in session, in car, and at lunch.
Okay.
We had a lengthy email discussion about this. And
what is the first rule of taking a break?
Take a break.
That's right.
And actually what she has done, after I P5'd her and asked her, she is actually on her lunch break and has gone someplace else and is in session. But did she tell me that? No. And so we talked about how to documenting taking a break, resuming session, and if you need to tell me or whoever that you've changed location, that's up to you. But she is actually in session. It's not like she wrote this down 2 hours later just because she could. So I kind of ran down through that on the right-hand side of the page and emailed it back to her. And then she's got an AI break. She's feeling alone and isolated. And just some comments. And here we go. Wet noodle time. Visual, not during session. So she was still on this little lunch break thing. But she was actually documenting. But she didn't think that she was still in session because it wasn't where she was originally at. And this is somebody who 3 weeks ago, I don't think, maybe 4 weeks ago, had never taken a break and came back and worked a session. And she sort of, I made a note, she only has 5 numbers. She doesn't even have a full set of coordinates. She didn't take the second set of numbers. And she's got site contact. Isn't it something?
Yeah, just a little note about that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when you're away from a session and you're not focused on it, that's when a lot of good information comes to you.
Yeah.
And it's good information.
And it happens to her all the time.
Yeah. And the reason we say the first and main rule of taking a break is take a break is because this is controlled remote viewing, meaning that the viewer is supposed to have control over it.
And we've been talking about that.
Yeah, and if you get into the habit of getting all this stuff on while you're on break, and then maybe coming back later and just writing down what you remember about it, then you're not in control. And you want to be in control of this process.
Yeah, and I explained that to her, and also a lot of times then, if you're not in session, you're just trying to randomly match what you got against something in real life, and you're analyzing it and naming it and trying to identify it, and then your targets start bleeding over into each other, and you know, your subconscious, you can't give it the pat on the back for, I told her, I said, if this keeps happening, you know, I'm going to send your sessions back. And, you know, we're going to train your subconscious. And we talked about you're sitting down, not necessarily to the ritualistic sense you have to have your blue rabbit's foot to view, but you're teaching your mind that it's setting down to work now. And not just all this random stuff, which is, you know, she's talented. It comes through.
Yeah.
It's the control.
Yeah, the difference between a psychic and a remote viewer is that, you know, a controlled remote viewer is that the controls.
Yeah.
One of the biggest complaints of psychics is that they have no control over it.
Right.
And if you allow this to happen and don't train your subconscious to do it, you know, in order, then you're putting yourself at the mercy of the child within.
And then she mixed her scoring session in with her summary, and only because she wrote in session, you'll see in a second. Her summary, she listed the aspects and then started putting the perceptions that went with those particular gestalts. But then she included her scoring session, her yes, no's, and maybes. Here we go. She broke this out, and I explained, you know, that these perceptions should have been matched up with the gestalt aspect that they went with.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the reason I thought that she did that, and I don't think she's gotten back with a confirm on it, is because way down here at the bottom, she wrote other things and end session. There we go. So I wanted to, and she said she didn't mind that if we talked about it and if we made comments on her session, she's going to get this download, and we'll take any feedback that you would like to offer up, and feel free to make any comments other than what we already just did. And I know we're zooming through this. It's 10:26.
Is anyone left connected, or did you just, are you including this just to have it recorded?
Just to have it recorded as a teaching,
okay.
And it's also, she's going to get this download, and if anybody, you know, had any comments, or if you did, she'd appreciate hearing them, so. But we made comments already, so. And that is everybody.
Very good.
Yep. We've got a good turnout of people here sending in sessions.
Well, then it probably means you're doing something right.
You think?
Yeah.
Let us pray. All right. I should probably just end this with let me just end this with Sierra Viewer. And since I didn't make up anything that says that this is what we were doing, and where are you? Oh, I've got to Explorer up.
I'm going to have to go ahead and get going.
All right. You just have a good evening, and when's Linda going to be back?
We're hoping Friday, but it's extremely chaotic, and so we're not sure.
Yeah, well,
you know, chaos is spelled B-U-C-H-A-N-A-N, so.
Yeah. What was this one again? Was this it? Because it's not, I'm just about to blow it. There we go. Alright, we'll just end with this image, and that way everybody knows for sure what we were reviewing. Thanks, Lynn. I'm glad you could make it, and I think we're going to be looking at 2.5 hours with this amount of session work coming in for review. But I'm getting emails that is helping people.
Good.
They can't actually be here, but it's helping people.
That's
so
good.
That's why we're doing it.
Yep. Well, thank you for doing it.
Oh, you're welcome. I guess I got nothing better to do. What the heck?
Oh, yeah. Just spare time activity, right?
Yeah, that's right. There we go. I'm going to throw my stuff up here just so that people can see that there are resources available, and there are all these webinars that have been made with instructions about how to choose targets, how to analyze targets, some biofield stuff. Marty Rosenblatt has worked with ARV. Angela Smith has out-of-body experiences, ERV. I don't think we ever got to telepathy. There we go. History and evolution of study of psychology. Lynn with analysis. Angela back with reading the rooms. And Marty with more ARV. So, anyway, I'm not plugging my site, but that's why it's here as a resource. So some key 2 exercises to help you learn to develop your skills as far as observations. And Courtney took us on a tour of the climate study where you can see several studies or several sessions by lots of viewers. Lori contributed an introduction to CRV in Spanish. And so, anyway, these are
I meant to plug your site last night on the radio interview, and I could not remember aestheticimpact.com.
Yeah, an odd term, huh? Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got to get going. I've got work to do in the other room, so.
All right, you take care, okay?
Tending to do, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am only going to just flash on a couple of things here just to get them recorded. If anybody needs the original manual, this document, you can Google it, but it's actually sitting on my website, and it talks about the stages of controlled remote viewing and how they were developed, so you can do that. And there's other stuff here. Here is an excellent, actually here's a document that shows that the folks at SRI actually had subcontractors, including neuropsychologists. So this wasn't something that they just pulled out of their hat like a rabbit. And a little document here from little discussion that they had with the folks over in Russia, which I would love to know what date that is, but it's nowhere to be found. And I've looked. And another document that shows how they were looking at just how reliable this is. And Hal's communication with Washington and letting them know how things are going. And you too can own these 92,000 plus files if you want to buy them. And I'm not plugging them insofar as Tamara Temple, and they are not easy to wade through. but they are for sale, and you know, it's just they're a piece of our history that you don't find, and there's something to wade through. Plus, I don't know how much the Freedom of Information Act has released since. And when they would get these, you know, they would get these huge stacks of documents in no particular order as they were declassified. And so then they would rubber stamp them and then just move them into a new pile. And so there's no rhyme or reason. And she's done her best to try and organize them. And here's where they studied PK and ESP. Russia was particularly interested in that. And seems like there was, oh, I know, I really wanted to maybe get Skip Bathwater. He's speaking at the remote, at the Urban Conference this year. And this is a really good series on HemiSync and remote viewing. And Skip actually started the remote viewing program when it actually kicked off. So anyway, that's a really good set of videos if you have time to watch it. It's not over long. But I think that's about it, and I just wanted to get that on the recording in case it would help anyone. So that's it, and we will see you folks in a couple of weeks. Okay? Anything, parting words from anybody? We'll probably unmute some mics.
So long from Northwest Alberta.
Glad you could be here. Night, everybody. I think I probably ought to wrap this up.
Okay.